Hello, hello, everyone. It is Jynnette The Oracle. Welcome to Oracle Talks. I'm so happy to be here with you. Welcome to the first new moon in Virgo that we have. It's awesome. We have two in a row. So this is our first one. The second one, of course, will be the solar eclipse one. But yeah, let's first get started with announcements because I want to jump right into the messages. We did just kick off yesterday the 30 days of meditation challenge. So for those of you who signed up, you've been getting your emails with the thought prompts, and hopefully you have been enjoying your meditation time thus far. For me personally, it has definitely been needed because I have fallen off the wagon. So it's been feeling actually really good to come back to this daily commitment of starting the day with spirit, with self, and recalibrating in a sense. So I'm really looking forward to how things are feeling by day 10, by 20, and of course by day 30 within this process as I start to kind of get back into the swing of things with that very important practice. So hopefully it's been the same for you too. Feel free to share in the comments how your experience has been with it, in the process, if you feel like it. If you want to just reply to the emails that get sent out, you can also do that as well too. But again, thank you for joining me with that. And I am right there with you, having all the experiences in the mind and all of that. So also, the next event that's coming up, of course, is the Spiritual New Year, which is happening on Saturday, September 20th. And that will be at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time Zone. So I do this every year as a live event where I receive messages for us for the spiritual year ahead. So autumn equinox to autumn equinox, not the calendar year. So if you would like to join, the link to sign up is below. Of course, it will be recorded and available for purchase and viewing for those who are not able to attend live. But obviously, everyone who attends live will get the recording as well, right? Something special that I'm going to do this year is that those who are able to attend live, I will be pulling a card for you, each of you individually, for an additional message of blessings or whatever spirit wants to have come through. That won't be on the recording, just obviously for privacy reasons. But that will be an added kind of bonus, if you will, for those who are showing up live for that event. Okay. So, yeah, sign up. Like I said, the link is below. For those of you who are currently participating in the 30 days of meditation, you have been given your coupon code for a discount off of the ticket price for the Spiritual New Year event. So please be sure to use that in that regard. And I'm also mulling over one more event that I want to do during the high holy days of the Jewish calendar. Still waiting to see if that actually is going to crystallize. But of course, once I know, I will share that information with you. Okay. I'm going to be updating the schedule for sessions for this week coming up. It will be very limited just because we're coming into a holiday weekend. So my schedule is going to be a little bit tight and I'm going to be pretty busy. So I need to be mindful of my energy and the quality that I can bring to a session. So yeah, I will be finalizing that probably Sunday rather than today, just because things are a little up in the air still at work, and a lot of schedule changes have been happening recently. So I updated the website to say Sunday. So yeah, just give me till like Sunday, Sunday-ish, Sunday evening to have that fully updated for the week ahead. Currently, it looks like I will have Monday available fully, and then the rest of the week I'm not sure. I might only have like a little bit of time, but again, I'm gonna sit with spirit about like what actually is going to be realistic and appropriate for me to do. So I'll definitely update the website and let you all know so that you can plan accordingly. And I believe that is it. So let's go ahead and shift into these messages. So instructions for engaging with today's messages. So obviously these are, like I said, new moon in Virgo messages, our first new moon in Virgo for this year. And as I was sitting with Spirit about, what was needing to come through about that, I was getting this interesting dynamic of being aware of, or possibly having to remind us of, where we are already in a state of liberated consciousness versus the place where we are specifically going to be grappling with a part of our ego mind or ego consciousness that we are trying to kind of liberate ourselves from, to shift into sitting more in that liberated state. So the phrase that I came up with of the lotus in the mud is the best kind of way that I can contain these concepts. The lotus being, again, that liberated consciousness that we are already embodying, that we probably have already forgotten about and are having difficulty like staying connected with and living through on a daily basis. So essentially it's a reminder like, hey, this is an area of clarity and strength within you that you may be thinking that you're trying to seek or like reclaim or whatever, but it is already there. So that's the purpose of the lotus part of the message. The mud part of the message is the part of you that you're actually having to put down and let go of, to set it down, because that's actually what is the block. And it's the thing that you are holding on to, you are gripping onto and not wanting to let go. And it causes deep fear. It causes deep anxiety. It causes a loss of a sense of self. Like, if I don't have this thing, or if I'm not doing this thing, or if I am starting over or whatever, if I'm starting from scratch, if I'm blank with all the things that I've accumulated of the self, ideas of personality, social status, money, relationship, whatever it is, health even, right? Like, those things are the gripping and the holding onto those things as like, this is mine and I don't want to let this go that we've accumulated. That stuff is the mud. Okay. So the lotus and the mud. So this is the focus, the message for this new moon in Virgo. And this is what we are being invited to essentially grapple with, to let the mud settle, to put it down, to proactively put it down, so that the liberated consciousness that is already there can be revealed. Okay. So that is our work for this time. And I know that it is purposeful, that 30 days of meditation idea that came through is there to also support this process. So if you didn't get a chance to sign up for the 30 days of meditation, like, you can still make a commitment for yourself for this Virgo cycle to make that part of your practice, right? And to sit with yourself every day for a certain amount of time, and also walk through your day with these ideas in mind. Drinking Earl Grey tea. All right, so if there is any questions about that, of course, put in the comments below. As you do come in, please say hello. Let us know where you're joining from, what you are sipping on. I am in overcast Southern California right now. It has been hot. We've been experiencing actually a heat wave these past couple days, so your girl has been struggling. I do have a fan right over here next to me, because a lot of the places over here actually don't have central air, which is mind-boggling to me. But so we have the fans going. So if you hear a little noise off to the side, that's what that is. All right. So with that being said, because this is a Virgo message that we're starting with, and it's a moon, we actually will begin with Virgo, and then we'll go sequentially through the rest of the zodiac signs. Now, the other thing with this is, unlike other messages I would do before for the zodiac signs, where I'd be like, okay, listen to your rising sign, your sun, your moon, all that sort of thing, or like pay attention to certain houses. That is definitely not the case for this specific message. Okay. This specific message is for your sun sign, because we are dealing with ego, personality, consciousness. Okay. So it is sun sign. Don't pay attention truly to any other sign. Although this is the only, kind of caveat, you can also listen and be informed by the Virgo message, because this is a Virgo moon, because obviously it's relevant for all, not only for the moon, and the fact that we have these 2 moons coming up and the eclipse, which is the second one, but also the South Node is in the sign of Virgo. So in general, I think it can be helpful to be aware of it as a broader trajectory, a broader insight for this nodal transit, as well as this kind of lunar Virgo season that we're in. So not only just this, lunar month ahead, which is, approximately 30 days, but we're also going to have another moon in Virgo. I'll do a separate message for that, because that will be the eclipse, but it's big enough there that it might be something helpful to pay attention to as well. But in terms of priority for what you specifically need to work on for yourself for at least these next 30 days to like really hone in on and gain momentum on, is for your specific sun sign. Okay. All righty. Virgo. Your lotus is card number 89, asking. So this is a space, again, the aspect of liberated consciousness that you already embodied, that you might not, you might have forgotten that you sit in and that you already have access to. So I love this energy in this context, because this talks about the ability to always be open to various perspectives and other insights. So it's, obviously values knowledge and information, but it doesn't stop there. It also is asking the question, like, is there anything else that's there? It leaves open insight from the divine mystery. It leaves open different perspectives coming in. It leaves open the possibility that even the way that you're interpreting things, or even what is showing up, might not be the whole truth, right? That there might be some inherent issues with how that's being perceived. So this is a very wise energy, masterful energy. I really like this. So this is your lotus. This is what already sits in you, that ability to not take things at face value, not for the sake of being quote unquote devil's advocate, but really understanding and being mindful of the fact that there are limitations to what you personally can know and can perceive and can identify as truth, and that there is always more. There is always something. There is always something else to add in. There is a greater divine consciousness that is flowing through, and you are aware of that. You can sense and pay attention to that. Okay. Now your mud, Virgo. Did I say? Okay, I said Virgo. I almost was feeling Gemini with this. But your mud, Virgo, is the Queen of Pentacles. So this is the aspect of ego consciousness, or how your ego is showing up, that is preventing you from, that essentially you need to put down in order to sit in and embody this perspective. So this is the energy of someone, an ego consciousness of someone who is like, I've learned all the things, I've done all the things, I know how things work. And by the power of my own mind, my own hands, I can figure it out and I can make things happen. And there still may be a sense and a wonder, because this person is, still sitting in the woods. There may still be a sense and a wonder that, there is something greater, and there is a divine flow, and ultimately things will work out. Spirit exists, all those kinds of things. But in practice, when it comes down to the things that you feel are in the realm of human hands, that perspective, this liberated consciousness, is not actually embodied and being utilized in the process. Yeah, spirit isn't in the process, or at least not as much as it could be. So there's excuse me, there's an aspect of needing to let go what you've already learned and accomplished, and essentially starting over in beginner's mind. This is kind of like an ego consciousness that has already done so much and experienced so much that the further along it gets, the older it gets, the harder it is to actually start from the beginning. It becomes, it's more and more comfortable starting in the middle, because it's kind of like, because over time, it's gotten used to having a bit of a head start, because all that accumulated knowledge and experience helps you skip those early stages. So yeah, Virgo, this is something that is representative of the mud for you. Okay. But again, the lotus is existing regardless. Welcome, Soul Family. Thank you for joining. All right. We are now moving on to Libra. Libra, your liberated consciousness that you are needing to re-embody consciously, because it's there, is the card number 4, which is man or masculine. So this energy is coming through as being honestly very clear in terms of well, okay, so I'll say this about the typical complaints about the Libra archetype of being wishy-washy or not being able to take a stand. That's not the case with this liberated consciousness that's already there. There is a very specific viewpoint, orientation, polarity associated with this inherent liberated consciousness that you do already embody. So it's interesting that this is coming up, actually, because that would tell me in some way, shape, or form that there's been a moving away from showing up in this polarity for some reason. So let's see what that is, because that's what you're grappling with here with the mud, and that is the Knight of Wands. So this is giving, this can talk about, fighting and being in the fray, but it also is giving me impulsivity. So the ego consciousness, the aspect of the ego that is impulsive, impassioned, it's just wherever it's being, I don't want to use the word triggered, but like catalyzed is where it goes, where it's led to. Whereas this masculine energy is not swayed by that. So there's something here in the mud with this Knight of Wands that you are having difficulty putting down for some reason. So again, there most likely is some fear or grief connected to this that is not allowing you to stand 10 toes down on, again, a particular polarity that you're supposed to be showing up in naturally. Because again, this is already a state that is embodied. And this is covering it. This is the mud or the muck that's covering that. This is what has to be put down. But it feels very broad. So which probably means that there's a lot of different types of examples for what the Libra sun signs are experiencing as that relates to. But this is really feeling like emotional body is having its way too much with Libra. Surprisingly. There's some emotionality, again, whether that is this fight energy or just impassionedness or whatever, but it's something that is, it's a block, but it's an ego block. It's not, again, this isn't an emotional message for this new moon in Virgo. This is literally about ego consciousness. Because emotions are emotions, like they do flow. But if they're getting stuck, that is mind. That is mind. Now, to be clear, because obviously, things like trauma exist, which literally like imprint and reshape and affect the wiring of our brain, so to speak. But I'm hearing even then, the amount of time might take a while, but what is clear is that this message, again, for this particular lunar cycle is something that is able to be grappled with in this lunar cycle. So even if it is for whatever Libra sun sign this is relevant for, even if this is like a particular trauma, like actual trauma, you're at that stage in a process where this can be put down. If this is relevant for you, that'd be an extremely small percentage, but yeah, this wouldn't be like at the beginning of the process. That's not what this is about. Okay. Scorpio, your lotus is card number 36, remembering. So this is the liberated consciousness that you already naturally embody, that you are trying to reconnect to, reaccess. This is interesting energy. This is feeling like, because my vision is going to the void here in the center. And there were these thoughts coming up about not needing to fill that sacred void, if you will, that sacred black, with other darkness. I'll leave that as it is. The sacred black within, the sacred void space within, is for you. And that around you, gets transformed in its own way. But that's not for the internal space. But that liberated consciousness already knows that. And there's a strong, solid foundation. Yeah, it's this thing about internal emptiness is important. I'll put it that way. Welcome to new folks coming in. Internal emptiness is a state of liberated consciousness that is already present for you, that is available to sit in again consciously, because again, it's already there. The mud, that which you are grappling with in your ego consciousness, that needs to be proactively grappled with this lunar month, is the High Priestess. So this is, intuition. This is knowing the thing. This is knowing the mysteries. This is being aware of everything that's going on. This can be difficult for the ego to let go of, because when you know about things, you may feel compelled to engage with it or try to transform it to be the answer. And there's something within that, which, you'll determine in your own meditative practice, but there's something within this that needs to be put down and let go of. And that may be something that you really have resistance to, of like, if I'm not doing the transforming, or because I know a thing, then now I must act in a certain way. Yeah. It feels like a grappling with access to the knowledge and the mysteries that you have and what to do with that. That's something that your ego is and has been gripped onto for a little while. And this is your mud. That's not an easy thing. All right, Sagittarius, your lotus. Card number 46, play. This is your liberated consciousness that you already embody. There's a beautiful detachment with this. So I know the card is play, but it's what it's giving the vibe of, like, what it's giving is the vibe of that internal divine consciousness that can watch and see how things play out, how people move, how events are occurring, how spirit is moving, like all those kinds of things. It's similar. It's not exactly the same as the Virgo message. It's similar. But very specifically, it's feeling like a detachment. Whereas the Virgo was a little bit more about Gyan, basically, knowledge. Yeah, this is detachment. Detached observer. Being able to witness the play. And there's no stuff around it. Like it's not there. That detached consciousness isn't perturbing the waters of the emotions. It's not saying that the emotions aren't there, but the observance of the play of reality doesn't get personalized. So this is the embodied, liberated consciousness that's already there. That's your lotus. The Sagittarius, your mud, is the high priest. So Scorpio had the high priestess. You got the high priest. So this is rigidity, right? This is saying this is how things should be. This is the law. This is what's right and wrong. Or these were the collective rules that we had agreed to play by, and folks are breaking them or not. So that's an aspect of the ego consciousness. Another aspect is being a know-it-all, being the one who is saying, hey, this is really what's up. None of this really matters, or this is how you should do this thing because yada, yada, yada. To sum that up, know-it-all energy, however this is playing out. This is also savior complex, ego consciousness. So again, depending on for whoever is Sagittarius sun, you'll see the game your ego wants to play with this. So see whatever resonates. But this can also be savior consciousness. This could be, I can show you the way. I am detached from these things and I see, I can show you the way. Okay, there's something about that is specifically hindering and blocking and preventing that liberated consciousness from being fully embodied in this now. And this is what you have to grapple with. Again, it's not going to be easy because when I was getting this message, it is literally like hands not wanting to let go. It's like, because it's a core part of how our personality has been constructed, at least for this stage. And we're not wanting to let it go because essentially this letting the mud settle, cleaning the mud off is ego death. And it's messy, it's not fun, but it's okay. All right, Capricorn, moving on, making good time. All right, Capricorn, we have for you, your lotus is time, card number 100. So this liberated consciousness is attuned to the ever-flowing nature of life. So the past, present, and future as one consistent stream. So it's not hyper fixated on the future. It's not hyper fixated on the past. It's not hyper fixated on the present. The present. it I'm not sure that timelessness is the correct word or the most accurate word for the sensation. Um, but in terms of experience, what this feels like for me is what ancient consciousness feels like consciousness, spirit, energy, beings that have been around for eons. So in the presence of like old trees, or like, mountain or rock formations that have been around for, millions of years. That's kind of this consciousness, right? It's just kind of in that flow. And this is an aspect of, this is a liberated consciousness that is already present within Capricorn Sun consciousness specifically. That's already embodied, that is helpful for you to reconnect to. Okay. Now, the mud that is preventing this, this is the ego consciousness that you're grappling with to get back to that liberated consciousness, is the Wheel of Fortune card. And this is literally the card of timing, of time and timing and cycles. So this ego consciousness comes into play when you're trying to get something that you want, and you're basically playing the game of timing cycles or timing patterns, because patterns are time or timing, right? So a classic pattern would be spring, summer, autumn, winter. That's a pattern, or framework. Okay. And it can be stretched or diminished in scale depending on what, you're kind of dealing with. But it's like knowledge of patterns, cycles, whatever, and like gripping, wanting to make that work for you for a particular purpose, a particular want, desire. And gripping, I mean, literally in the photo, gripping that which has been gained in terms of wants and desires here in the physical with this knowledge, and essentially parasitizing that process in order to get that. And this is not going to be easy. I can tell, like, even though all these different ego things that are coming up, obviously for everybody, all the different zodiac signs, like for other folks, that might not seem like a big deal, but for whoever is specifically dealing with it, like the battle is real. I can feel it. Letting this go, because it's obvious in this photo for you, Capricorn, but literally this energy of like, I've gotten this personality ego construct and the things that have come with that from wisdom, experience, whatever. And I want to hold on because I think that is going to get me to what I really want, which is that state of liberated consciousness. But it's like, no, actually, the state of liberated consciousness is what got you this. And then somewhere in the process, the liberated consciousness got covered because it stopped becoming the priority. And now you think the ego consciousness is actually the thing doing it, when that's just the after effect. It's not the cause. So Capricorn, this is your mud, your specific mud. All right, Aquarius, your lotus, your liberated consciousness that you are to re-embody consciously, is card number 3, woman feminine. So we already had the man masculine show up. That was for Libra, but Pisces, you got the woman feminine. So similar, not the same, but similar to the man masculine message in the for Libra. This is giving polarity, but not in a singular focus. This is giving me yin yang. More broadly, the unencumbered flow of consciousness. Okay, like that's the vibe. So it's not a particular polarity. It is yin and yang. Not as a half and half thing. But as the infinity symbol, more so. And it's getting closer to it. It's not quite, because I don't want to relay this sense of like movement per se, of like a rise and a fall. But I'll leave it at that. I won't go on a tangent. The mud for you is 3 of Pentacles. This seems like ego consciousness that's focused on doing one thing at a time. One second. Now it's interesting. These are both 3s as well. But one moment. Oh, you know what? This ego consciousness is hyper fixating on a particular thing, or maybe like 1 or 2 things. As being the end all be all, whereas this liberated consciousness is like, oh no, like all of my life, all of my expression gets the full presence of me, and that full balance and expression or exploration of yin and yang. Yeah, I think that's actually getting a little closer to what this dynamic is. It's like, because there's maybe so much passion, desire, focus, and attention on a thing or a few things to get what you want, it creates a distortion within the self, or basically like empowers the ego consciousness rather than, again, so it's basically like compartmentalizing the self, compartmentalizing consciousness. And it may not seem obvious, but I can tell as I'm tapping into like getting to a place where like the coolness and the flowness of this liberated consciousness being brought to everything that is done and giving exactly what is needed for each thing at each time as the thing is very different from this energy. And I can feel the grip here. It's below the surface, but I can feel the grip because these are two different things. Like from the outside looking in, for other people, like this might look like, oh, this person just going with the flow. They're not really putting much energy or effort into it because they associate, again, that compartmentalization with actual work, actual progress, actual development, forward motion, whatever. But the thing is that splits us internally because it's this idea of like, oh, I have to do and show up in a certain way differently for this context versus another context. And this is saying like there's no splitting with the feminine energy, like there's no, you don't split water. Right? So this is split though. So I'm hearing very specifically, if for Pisces, if you're unsure what this is for you, and what I've been liking to say recently is that I don't know is actually not the end, it's the beginning, because you do know. But this is the prized possession. Whatever you think is important, especially if it's important to the collective, important work or whatever. This is the prized possession. This is where the ego is showing up. And that's what that message is. Welcome, welcome to the Self family. Okay. Oh, wait, no, that was Aquarius. I'm so sorry. That was Aquarius. That wasn't Pisces. My brain went to Pisces. That's so interesting. I'm glad I caught that though. The timing, the time is still correct, but yeah, that was for Aquarius, not Pisces. And that makes more sense, this hyperactivity then, or the hyper focus, because Aquarius can very much be that way. Aquarius can very much be that way. That makes a little bit more sense to me in terms of the archetypes. Okay. Yeah. Apologies, Aquarius, if I was saying Pisces throughout all of that, but that was your message. It wasn't for Pisces. Pisces has a distinct message as kind of similar with the cards, but yeah, that's actually really fascinating. Let me see if there's anything else with that before I move on to Pisces for real this time. No, I think that's it. It's actually, as I sit in that now a little bit more as Aquarius, like reorient my mind, like this is actually seems to be a struggle for the Aquarius energy. I mean, everyone's mud is a struggle for them, but yeah, there's something about control with that. has to be dealt with the ego. Okay. That happened. All right, Pisces. I love it. All right, Pisces, you have card number 54, Soul. So this is your liberated consciousness. So this awareness of and connection to who you are and what you are versus who you are not and what you are not is very clear in this state. And this is something that on some level, again, Pisces sun, this is all sun sign stuff, not anything else, have been having difficulty recently, like getting back to this awareness. Okay. But this is the natural state or a natural state of your liberated consciousness. And it's not, great spirit kind of thing. It's you as a soul. There is a deep awareness of that liberated consciousness. Now, the mud, interestingly enough, is the sun. So this is literally the ego, literally the personality construct. So Pisces has the literal lotus and mud, and like the highest iteration of that for the zodiac signs. Okay, the liberated consciousness and the mud, the personality. So unequivocally, the identification with identity or identities, who you are, etc., has to get put down. So it's not even an aspect of how the ego was showing up, it's the ego itself. Yeah, which tells me this is actually all encompassing. So it is still similar to the Aquarius message, but this isn't even like, oh, there's a part of my life where this is showing up. It's like, no, this is all aspects. Ego fully has to get put down. So all the places of resistance, and it's resistance that are created from all the identities. That's the meditation prompt for today. It's time to let go of the clothes of my identities, right? I see you're in the journey. I've gotten so much feedback so far, and this is only like day 2, but that particular thought prompt that came through, who knew? But yeah, this is across the board, Pisces. I think y'all might actually have and again, specifically Pisces Sun, y'all gonna have the heaviest lifting, it looks like, at least so far. And trust and believe, I did not plan this out. Like, I got the thought prompts a while ago, actually. Like, I've been sitting on them. So, and they came out in the order they came out, and I trust spirit. And it was like, already. Right. Oh, goodness. All right. Aries. Gotta watch my time because I have session next. Your lotus is card number 84, slowing down. This is your liberated consciousness. So again, Aries sun signs only for this. Liberated consciousness. So this actually very specifically feels like that ability, it's related a bit to that objectivity that was coming up, or even forgot what word I used, detachment, I guess, for Sagittarius, or might have been Capricorn, one of those. But anyway, where an experience or something happens, event, I'll just say, okay, event happens externally. And there's a flurry of reaction. Okay. I'm using broad language because regardless of scale. So whether this is like personal event, something in your group, globally, like whatever. Okay. So event happens, reaction occurs. This liberated consciousness is it can have that event occur, witness reaction, be still disengaged, like detached. I won't say disengaged, it'd be detached because it's engaged, it is watching, but allowing the reaction and the stuff to settle so that that which is underneath can be revealed. This actually feels like it's the core essence of instinct. Rather than quick reaction time, it's waiting until you fully see. So there's a bit of a delay before response. There's consideration, but the sense I'm getting again in this consciousness is observance, detached observance, allowing things to settle so that what is there can be seen, and then wise action, wise response. This is a state of liberated consciousness that is already there, that's available to embody, that haven't been embodying lately. The mud for you, Aries, is 5 of Pentacles. This is literally like being in the fray. But let me sit with that a little bit more, though. This is giving me mountaintop consciousness. This is giving me valley consciousness. So being able to observe what is occurring from a objective space versus being in it, in the middle of it with everybody. But I still feel like there's something more. So give me a sec. Oh, okay. So it is that, but it's almost like the reason or the perspective for that engagement of like being in the fray, so to speak, is wanting to be connected with others, wanting to be in quote unquote community. Whereas this is a singular thing. This energy is actually quite individual because it's not reactive ego consciousness. And as such, there's not that shared emotional experience. And because there's no shared emotional experience, and we have framed that without discernment for being connection and relationship, we become addicted to that and perceive or show up in ego personality construct as being, again, this is for Aries Sun, reacting and connecting in this way, whatever it is what puts me in community, keeps me in community, and I need that connection. That's not that ain't it. That's actually what has to get let go of, because that's ego consciousness. That is not the liberated consciousness that you actually sit in already, Aries. That's actually not how you are to be showing up in your natural state. This is a very, again, whatever the thing is for people, like it's hard, but from my perspective, this is really hard to do, to slow that reaction time down, to let the dust settle, to actually allow what is most of the truth to be revealed and then to respond. That is definitely not how we are trained in, I'll say in trained currently. Interesting. Very interesting, Aries. Taurus, your lotus, liberated consciousness, is card number 67, closing. Again, this is what you already embody. You just have been having difficulty reconnecting to it because of how the ego has been running amok. This one is giving me a pause, just like the Scorpio messages. So one moment. It's definitely given that vibe of not making everything accessible to the outside. Which, to be honest, that can really be speaking specifically about consciousness being informed by the indwelling spirit rather than by the external environment. And there's an engaging with the world, but not a conforming to it. The not conforming to it is not, rigidity, is not, wisdom for responsibilities that one has in this incarnation. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's, to use this word, the supremacy of the spirit, of the soul. And it seems to be, we'll see when I get to the mud card, but it seems to be like a closing off of uh penetration by the external environment as being an authority, or being truth with capital T, being reality with capital T. This is an energy that's unperturbed. It is master energy. The master is the master is the master, regardless of circumstance. There's no performance here. There's no proving here. It phrase for you, this is I am. Different than the message for Pisces. That was more of a looking, almost like a looking up. This is a descent of the divine into the physical. I am. That's where we're getting with this one. Okay. Interesting, Taurus. Your mud, however, is the Princess of Swords, or the Page of Swords. I'm not sure with this one yet. One moment. Oh, um, so the ego consciousness that you're grappling with to release, to proactively put down, um, it's actually kind of counterintuitive. It's not wanting to be invested, engaged, connected, not wanting to get dirty. Because there might be a fear of not wanting to disturb the inner peace on one hand, not want to get caught up in other people's stuff or just like the mess, the mud of life. It could also be conjunct with that a lot of pride of thinking that you are better than others. And that unless someone is kind of already in that consciousness, like they are below you, which in this ego consciousness, you would think most people are. Again, which keeps you from connecting and actually being engaged. But inherent in that consciousness is really pointing to the idea that you don't believe I am, which really means that you are not really connected. That's going to put you on an interesting journey because it's going to get into like, well, why are you here? Why bother incarnating? Real talk. Like what is the point? I'm about to be petty, so I'm gonna move on. Gemini. All right, Gemini, you have card number 44, Union. Ooh, I gotta book it. I gotta get through. So the union is your liberated consciousness. Union, actually, the phrase that's coming through for this is the middle path. So this tells me that there is a liberated consciousness that already is embodied, that you're trying to reaccess, that actually is a healthy balance between the personality, ego, and the soul. That there's no conflict or anything there. Like that delicate balance is already present and aware. There's no internal battle with self or even external battle with the expression of self in the world. So that's already there. The mud for you is the Seven of Pentacles. So typically the Seven of Pentacles gets interpreted as like failure. I tend to not interpret it that way because it's failure in the eyes of the beholder, but it's not failure because there is a harvest. There is a return on the investment of work, right? It might not be the peak of what the ultimate goal was, but it provides you an opportunity to tweak and adjust and adapt to get a greater return next time. But that very much can be considered a failure because all this effort was put in and you didn't get out fully what you were expecting to get out. So I get it. I understand. But if this is some aspect of the ego consciousness that you are grappling with, this could be a situation where you may be having this experience of, well, I'm doing all the things in the spirit, but I'm not getting the results that I want in the physical, or I'm doing all the physical stuff that I am supposed to do, but I'm not getting the spiritual results or experiences that I'm expecting. Expectation is the word of the day. Expectation is the word of the day for you, for your mud, Gemini. I'll leave it at that because you can go down the rabbit hole with it. Okay, Cancer. Your liberated consciousness, your lotus, is card number 14, harmony. Now, this does feel slightly different from the Gemini message, because with Gemini, it did feel like two distinct polarities that there's a balance between the two, whereas this feels like an integration, that there is no perceived separation, so to speak. One's not better than the other. Again, these are all frameworks. So, but it is different from Gemini, okay? In that there is no difference in the consciousness perception of the physical versus the non-physical. So soul, liberated consciousness, the truth of who you are, and the incarnate of who you are, right? Like that is, that's already an integrated consciousness that's available for you to re-embody, okay? The mud for you, Cancer, is the World card. So this feels like an aspect of the ego consciousness that is resistant to, again, this is Cancer sun signs, that is resistant to raising oneself, the personality, the incarnation, and all the little mini cycles within the incarnation, raising oneself throughout the process, through every, not only little cycle within an individual life, obviously across all lives, but like really like doing that. Like there's a resistance to that. Because this, well, not because of this consciousness, but this pervading consciousness is there. And rather than it being like a failure thing with with Gemini, this is like wanting to skip to the best part. This is reminding me a bit of the Capricorn message, to be honest. A little bit. But it's like similar in that, you know, there's an accumulation of this stuff, but when a new little cycle begins again, like the process has to begin again. And the lack of possible patience or parenting or lack of desire to do that thing is an issue, whatever that is. But to essentially, to sum it up, go through the full process again and again, to start from the beginning fully and go through all the stages fully. There's something about this. There's also a thing here about naivete. So yes, going through full process, but that doesn't mean being ignorant. So it's a really fine line of using wisdom to allow yourself to go through appropriate levels of resistance and obstacles, because those are natural parts of the process, but also not being intentionally naive about things that are unnecessary. Yeah, there's just something about, like, it's feeling like a tantrum. It's feeling very immature. So whatever this is for the Cancer archetype, and it could be just like, okay, I'll go through the process, but I want the process to look a certain way. Like, it could be ego stuff around that, or whatever it is. Yeah, that can be tough sometimes with, again, so much of that Capricorn message, having all this knowledge and wisdom and experience, and it getting in the way of beginner's mind and just going through the process. All right, last but not least, Leo. Your lotus is card number 79, daring. Okay, so this feels specifically like a liberated consciousness that knows how to use ego and personality. It leads the ego. So the moon representing the soul, the indwelling spirit, being here at the hilt, which handles the sword, and the sun energy is more the outcome, or where the sword is being directed. Like, that is ego personality, right? There's an awareness and ability that already exists within the liberated consciousness to essentially use ego as a tool in certain ways as needed. And there's a detachment and appreciation for it, but a detachment in being able to do so. Okay, so it's a tool that's being used rather than who you are. Like, the sword is a tool being used rather than like, I am the sword, right? The mud for you is the 9 of Swords. I mean, basically, it's the flip of that. It's the ego, like literally creating barriers around the inner spirit, because it doesn't want the spirit to lead. It doesn't want the soul to lead. That's a very strong, like, this is an active battle against one's own soul. The others feel just more like, got to get the ego to behave or like work in a certain way. In general, for the most part, this feels like you in battle with a very well developed and very strong ego. So this feels like a power versus force, because the power of the soul, the indwelling spirit, needs to be powerful and strong enough to make ego submit. And the thing is, that does exist, because the only reason ego can exist is because soul exists. Okay, because there's indwelling spirit. The ego is the child of the parent, which is the soul of the spirit. So parent sword is over these other swords. And whatever that battle is going to look like for you to truly put this down, very different from the Pisces message, because this feels like, on the surface, it feels like an equal battle, but it's not equal because the ego doesn't actually have power. So your tactics for grappling with that are going to be unique. All right, y'all. I have got to go before I am late to my alumni group session, but I hope that was really helpful and insightful for you. I really enjoyed these messages. Later on, I will put the timestamps up so you can go back and re-listen. Again, please do watch the instructions. This is for sun signs only, not the other signs. So please only take what was for your sun sign. But this is for the new moon in Virgo message. Once again, the upcoming Spiritual New Year event is coming on September 20th. The link to sign up is below. Folks who are in the current 30 days of meditation journey, you've already gotten your discount code, so you can use that to apply towards your ticket price. Otherwise, I will see y'all, God willing, next week. All right. Love you. Bye.